Great, so it's getting more exciting now. We're going to learn how to create parallel dots, use parallel dots to create designs. When doing parallel dots, you need to work with two different dots, and most preferably the straight dot, which is the underarm dot, and the waist dots. Those are the best dots to use, but you can use the armhole, the one mid armhole dot, you can use the shoulder dot, you can use any dot, but you need to work with two dots when doing parallel dots. So here goes. So what you do is that from your dot points you draw, they don't have to be straight lines. So now we're going to make French dots. We're going to transfer our dots to, we're going to form French dots, two parallel French dots. So from there I'm using my curve so that I can have like curved designs towards French dots from that point, and then I'm going to make a parallel, one parallel to that from that point. And what we just do now is to slash and transfer, and then we are done. So I'm going to slash here to that point and close this dot. Going to do the second one for the second line to the apex point, and then I close this dot. So you can see that once you know how to transfer that, every other designing with that becomes very easy. So the next thing I'm going to do now is that I'm going to trace it out. Either trace it out or I just add, I'll probably just fill up the space and create and add my seam allowances for folding my dots. Because they are curved dots, you just add seam allowances. You can't just hold them together like that. So I'm going to add seam allowances. Let me put my dots down. You want to don't forget to always mark your points. We'll cut it out to show what our pattern looks like. So now we have our pattern. So we're doing this one to the neckline, shoulder line, or whatever it is we can call it. So I'm going to take the width of the distance between your dots can be, we're transferring these two dots to lines that we're going to create. So I'm going to take about 1.5 inches. I'll use about 1.5 inches from the neck point, and I'll draw it one of the legs to this dot right here. And then from the neck point, I'll connect a dot from the neck point. I'll connect a line from the neck point to the waist dot. To give it a beautiful silhouette, I will change the neck. Right, I'll change the neck. I'll lower the neck by 5 centimeters or so. I can lower it by any amount. I'll lower it to about 5 centimeters. And I'll redraw my neckline. I should probably just make it a straight neckline. So I'll redraw my neckline, making it a straight neckline. And see what the effect will be. The impact of my redrawing. So as usual, what we do is to transfer the dots. Just like that, we just transfer the dots to create another design. So whenever you're just doing anything, just think transfer, dot manipulation. You can do so many things with that manipulation. I'm going to do the second one. I'm just transferring that, so I'm just slashing to the dot point and then closing the dots that I want to transfer. You remember that I changed the neckline here, so I'm going to cut this off. Yes, I'm going to cut that off. Right, so I'm going to retrace my new design. Done manipulating that, because I've added an extra element to it. I'll show you how to treat it. Good. So basically what I do here is that I will measure the distance between here and here and notch it there. So I have 16 centimeters here, so I'm going to measure 16 centimeters here. Here and notch it. So what I'm going to do here is to stagger. I'll stagger my seam at that point, and I'll show you what I mean by I'll stagger my seam. So I will use a quarter inch or 3/8 of an inch at this point. 3/8 of an inch as my seam here. 3/8 of an inch as my seam allowance. There. Don't forget to draw your points all the way down to where it's supposed to start. Right, and then I'll use a quarter of an inch for the rest. Of my seam. That's what it means by staggering it. Quarter of an inch. And at the notched point, I make a ladder. Then I put seam all around the rest of my pattern. transferred parallel dots at the neckline. It looks much better when it's sewn, especially on plain fabric. Okay, now we're going to use parallel dots to give like a caped effect. So if you have done all those cluster dots and everything, this will be pretty easy for you to understand. So what I'll do right now is to okay, let me hold this down. Just for a bit. So what I do right now is to extend. I'm going to extend my shoulder line to create a caped effect. I'm going to extend my shoulder line. Here is my shoulder line. There. I'm going to extend it by 1.5 inches. So that's my shoulder point. And then I'll also mark another 1.5 inches from the on the shoulder line. 1.5 inches on the shoulder line. Just learn the technique. You can change your design anyhow you want to change your design. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to draw a line up from my waist dart. I think I need to use a pencil. I'll draw a line up from my waist dart. Just going to draw it up and up from at about 1.25 inches, or however it is. Just try to make it a parallel line up from the straight dart. So now I'm going to draw lines from this point here. Let's name this point A. The shoulder point is B. This C point is where we extended to get the cape. I'm going to draw a curved line from that point, from point B to touch a point. Or before I do, okay, so after extending those lines up, we're going to shape our neckline. So from point A, we mark this point A, we're going to curve our neckline. I'm going to curve my neckline. I'm going to bring my neckline down because I don't want my, your normal neckline is just up there at the base of your neck. So I'm going to bring my neckline down by about 1 inch or 1.5 inch, since that's what we're using. 1.5 inches. I'll redraw my neckline from point A. So I'm going to now draw a parallel line to the point A from point B to touch the line coming up from the waist dart. Just a parallel line to point. So point A is parallel to point B. So it's touching that line. So mark that point. Then a parallel line from B, you draw it to touch the line coming from the straight dot. Great. So I'm going to clean off all this and clean off all the extra points. Good. So now we're going to transfer our dots, just like we did when we're doing the clustered dots or the radiating dots. That's what we're going to do. Let me just cut out my pattern. So we're going to cut from C there to our straight dot, to our straight dot points, and transfer the dots. Transfer the dots. It's just that easy. So now our dot has been transferred. So we're going to do the same for the second line. To the point, and then you close the dots to transfer it. Transferred. So you can see how designing with dots can be so easy. Once you get the hang of it, once you have an understanding of dot manipulation. So the only thing left right now is to add seam allowances. voila, and that's parallel that to our shoulder line, extended, parallel that as a cape. Once you hold it, you'll see how beautiful on fabric it will come out. You can decide to extend the length of your cape. It depends on you. You can decide to change the neckline, whatever it is that you want to do. You can do in transferring your darts, in designing with your darts. Now we're going to move on. I think I'm going okay, now we're going to move on to asymmetric darts. You're going to enjoy this.